Sade's fantastic 44-week takeover of soul music, presented by Soulful Charts. Sade shook up the R&B game when she burst onto the scene in the mid-80s. She sounded different. She looked different. Her music had that sophisticated, elegant, international flair. Yet American fans of R&B music still felt an undeniable connection to a jazzy, soulful sound. Sade's music and style will go on to have a lasting impact on R&B music, jazz, pop, and even hip-hop. In this episode of Dominant Days, we're going to look at a special period in Sade's career that occurred in a 44-week span, right within the first year of her soulful musical journey. So let's jump right on in. RIAA certifies gold and platinum recordings. Here's their official data for Sade's first two albums. Sade's debut album, Diamond Life, was released at the end of February 1985. Within 10 weeks, the album was certified platinum. Later that same year, about 6 months later in November, Sade released her sophomore album, Promise. That album went platinum within just over 2 months of its release, in late January 1986. And then Promise was certified double platinum about 6 weeks later in March. So, between early May 1985 and mid-March 1986, a period of about 44 weeks, Sade had 2 platinum albums. Her debut, Diamond Life, was platinum, and her second effort, Promise, was certified double platinum. With that said, how did the Nigerian-born, British-raised beauty pull off such a stunning feat? What drove her incredible success in this 44-week period? Well, let's look at some more data. Hit singles drive sales, as I always say. Sade's debut single, Hang On To Your Love, off her debut album Diamond Life, peaked just under the Billboard Hot 100 at number 104. But it had a solid showing on the R&B charts, peaking at number 14 for 2 consecutive weeks in February 1985. Sade's second single, Smooth Operator, is where things really started to heat up for the British singer and her band. The record was definitely a smooth operation. Now that may come off as simplistic or even a little corny, but the bottom line is the song's title is a perfect reflection of its sound. Sade's vocals, the music, the vibe. The record hit American shores like a tidal wave. Smooth Operator was a top 10 record for 7 weeks on the R&B charts. It reached the top 5, peaking at number 5 for 3 consecutive weeks in May of 1985. The record was a top 10 hit on the pop charts for 5 weeks. It also peaked at number 5 on that chart for 2 consecutive weeks later in May. In fact, on the week of May the 18th, Smooth Operator was number 5 on both the R&B and pop charts. As far as Sade's debut album, Diamond Life, on which Smooth Operator is featured, the effort spent 12 weeks in the top 10 of the top R&B albums chart. The hit was in the top 5 for 7 of those 12 weeks, peaking at number 3 the week of May the 11th. Smooth Operator also did well on Billboard 200, the pop album charts. It spent 10 weeks in the top 10, peaking at number 5 for 2 consecutive weeks in late May, early June. During this same time period, the Diamond Life album was certified platinum on May the 6th. The album received warm reviews from critics. Sade released a third single from Diamond Life later that summer, Your Love is King. It's one of my favorite Sade records. As far as chart performance, the song did okay. It peaked at number 35 on the R&B chart and number 54 on the pop charts. But Sade's big moment, the start of her fantastic 44 weeks, was clearly driven by the breakout success of Smooth Operator. So now, let's move on to Sade's second album, Promise, released in the latter part of 1985 in the month of November. Capitalizing off of the strong showing of her debut album, Sade came back strong with her sophomore effort, releasing The Sweetest Taboo as the first single at the end of November. The Sweetest Taboo spent 7 weeks in the top 10 on the R&B charts, peaking at number 3 for 3 consecutive weeks in February of '86. It also did well on the pop charts, spending 4 weeks in the top 10, peaking at number 5 in the last week of February into March. So on a personal note, The Sweetest Taboo may just be my favorite Sade record. Now, I absolutely love several of her songs, including Kiss of Life, which was released later in the early 90s. But anyway, The Sweetest Taboo is the biggest hit of Sade's sizzling hot career. The chart and sales performance of Sade's Promise album were awesome. So let's cover the R&B album chart first. Promise debuts in mid-December 1985. Within 2 weeks, it moved into the top 10. Promise spent 24 weeks in the top 10. The album was number 1 for 11 of those 24 weeks. And to be clear, that's 11 consecutive weeks at the very top of the R&B album chart. Now, what about the pop charts? The Billboard 200. Promise debuted on Billboard 200 on December 21st, 1985. Within 5 weeks, the album was in the top 10. Promise spent 16 weeks in the top 10. The album was in the second spot on the charts for 7 of those 16 weeks. 5 of those weeks at number 2 were consecutive. Promise peaked at number 1 for 2 consecutive weeks in February 1986. Within 10 weeks of its release, Promise was certified platinum on January 27, 1986. Promise was number 5 on the pop charts and number 2 on the R&B chart at the time of its platinum certification. 5 days later, on February 1st, the album started its 11-week reign on the R&B album chart. Later that month, on February 25th, Sade wins the Grammy for Best New Artist. 2 weeks later, after that, on March the 12th, Sade's sophomore album, Promise, was certified 2 times platinum. At the time of the double platinum certification, the album was in the midst of its 3rd week at number 2 on Billboard 200 and in its 6th week at number 1 on the R&B charts. So, here's a summary of Sade's impressive 44-week run from mid-1985 to early 1986. Sade had 2 albums in the top 5 on the R&B charts and the pop charts in less than a year. Her second album, Promise, reaches number 1 on both album charts, spending 2 consecutive weeks in the top spot on Billboard 200 and an incredible 11 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the R&B album chart. Sade's debut album, Diamond Life, goes platinum, while her second album, Promise goes double platinum less than a year later. Sade won the Grammy for Best New Artist in February 1986. Sade is an important contributor and influencer of the smooth, jazzy-flavored brand of soul that impacted R&B music in the mid to late 80s. Sade has had a remarkable career, spanning over 35 years as a vocalist, songwriter, and world-class performer. With that said, from May the 6th, 1985 through March the 12th, 1986, Sade poured off a fantastic 44-week takeover of soul music. Thanks for listening and watching. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button and leave your thoughts in the comments. Have a soulful music topic you would like to see featured on Soulful Charts? Let me know and maybe I'll give it a go in an upcoming episode. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell in order to be notified when new videos get released. And one more thing, share this channel with other connoisseurs of soul music. Peace.